Hello, everyone. It's me, my pretties, the Lion Queen. So today I am going to be talking about. I'm going to be giving another top 10 video on my favorite episodes from a TV show you guys may remember. It's called The Magic School Bus. This show came out in the 90s, and it's definitely a pretty good series from the 90s from what I remember. However, though, there are a certain amount of what is oh yeah, there is a certain amount of episodes I like from this show, and there's a couple of them that are my favorites, which I will be talking about them as we go along. But yeah, no, I'm not talking about the new Magic School Bus rides again, as that show is just absolutely garbage. It just isn't the same like the original. But I've always liked the original Magic School Bus as a kid. So, and even as an adult, I still personally love the show. So I'm going to go ahead and, pretty much just, give out my list about, I talk about the episode, why it's my favorite, what the episode is about, and then basically we'll go from there. So this is like a top five favorite episodes of, Magic School Bus. I mean, I could do a top 10 of it, but I decided, what, let me do a top 5 favorite, because there is certain episodes of this show that I liked when I was a kid. And if you are a fan of the Magic School Bus, then this episode is definitely for you. So, with that being said, let's get on with it, shall we? Of course, this is the first episode of the Magic School Bus that started it all, and this one aired in sometime in 1994 in September, and this episode is called Gets Lost in Space. So, the plot of this episode is basically involving Arnold's cousin Janet visits Miss Frizzle's class to go on a field trip to the planetarium to watch a show about the solar system. However, when the planetarium is closed, Arnold suggests that they go to outer space. So the class explores, a few planets while Janet collects proof for their voyage. In the Astro Belt, while Janet's trying to collect the asteroid as for further proof, they lose Miss Frizzle and they find themselves lost in space. So this topic of this episode is involving the solar system, which is a pretty nice episode, and it's pretty neat because it's about pretty much pretty much about the solar system and stuff like that. So I mean, it is pretty interesting. I personally really like it, and I thought it was really well made in detail. It's a pretty good it's a pretty good episode. I personally like this episode, even though it's from season 1. It's the start of how this show came out to be, which is pretty nice. I personally like this episode, and I remember watching this episode, back when I was a kid, and even now I still remember it. So, with that being said, let's get on with number 4. In the haunted house. This is like almost pretty much like a Halloween themed episode, and you're going to find out why. This episode aired a few days before Halloween in 1994, and this is about Carlos invents a new instrument for the class at the Sound Museum. However, it sounds awful, so that kind of sucked for him. However, when the bus breaks down, they miss the rehearsal, giving Carlos more time to perfect his instrument. But to do so, the class must learn how sound is made in the middle of the night in the Sound Museum itself, and they learn about the history. The topic of it is basically about sounds, and this episode kind of reminds me of a Halloween almost themed episode because it involves them going into this haunted house they stay for a night. I personally really like this episode. It's a really good one, and I personally remember watching it when I was a kid, and even when I was in high school, I remember my teacher played this episode. Do I recommend this episode? Well, if you're a Magic School Bus fan, you will definitely like it. So, anyways, with that being said, I definitely have to say right now that this is honestly one of the best episodes. I have to put it at number 4. It's a really great episode. I personally liked it. I thought it was a really well made episode, and it's just a really great Magic School Bus episode. I mean, if you are a Magic School Bus fan like myself, And if you remember this episode, you definitely will remember how great this episode was. I love how it took place in the haunted house, which I thought that was really awesome and really interesting. So there's definitely that. So anyways, let's get on with number 3. Of course, number 3 right here is Going Batty, which is a Halloween themed episode, which I thought it was pretty nice. So basically this episode aired in 1995 on September 30th, and apparently it came out, it's a second season. So this episode, Going Batty, is about Ralphie is convinced that Miss Frizzle's a vampire when she shows up outfitted in a cape while speaking in a Transylvanian accent. However, moving and talking like one, she takes all the kids' parents on a little field trip. So Ralphie convinced that she's going to do something to them, but it turns out that's not the case. So basically, this episode is about bats on, the animals, of how they, survive in the night and stuff like that. I mean, Ralphie thinks that the vampire bats are gonna suck their blood or something. I'm like, Ralphie is just. This episode just involves Ralphie letting his mad imagination run wild, so it's pretty crazy. I personally like the episode, and I personally really enjoyed that this episode was really well made. It's a pretty good episode. I mean, if you remember this episode, you definitely will remember how well made this is. And that is one of the reasons why I personally like this episode. I still like it. I thought it was well made in detail. And I personally really have to say it's great for what it is. So, there's definitely that. And I definitely have to recommend this episode to anybody who happens to be, a Magic School Bus fan like myself. You definitely will really enjoy this episode. It's just as good as The Haunted House. Although this one I see is a little better. It's a little bit more Halloween themed. At least that's from what I am seeing personally. But that's just my opinion. And if you disagree with me, that's fine too. So anyways, let's get started with the next one, shall we? Yep, the holiday special. This is really good for the holidays, and not only that, this came out on Christmas Day of 1996, and this one talks about recycling. So the plot of it goes is that it is the day before the winter holidays when the class is taking stuff to the recycling center that is run by Miss Frizzle's cousin Murph. However, Wanda is going to see the Nutcracker and is bringing a toy soldier instead of taking money. They are taking toys to give to homeless children, as usual. Something goes wrong, and Arnold mistakes the soldier for something being taken to the recycling center and gets turned into plastic pellets. Wanda angrily declares and she wishes recycling was never invented. Naturally, this gives Miss Frizzle an idea. So she turned the bus into an anti-recycling machine, which changes the recycling way to be without recycling, cuts down the forest, turns all the recycling trucks into garbage trucks. The class is confused when it swings to set to the park turns into aluminum cans, which Wanda is still pleased. If recycling had never been invented, then a toy soldier will still be waiting for them in the classroom. However, the bus turns the school into garbage dump. When they get there, the bus unrecycles itself, and that's when Wanda eventually apologizes to Arnold for ever wanting to get rid of recycling. And wants it back. Miss Frizzle changes the bus everything back, and Wanda makes new toy soldiers from melted plastic pellets. So Arnold has to leave for his sick grandmother for Hanukkah, so soon as classmates and Miss Frizzle and Murph appear eventually. So the episode aired is one of the 1 hour long on the episode special during its airing. The first 30 minutes of the regular episode and the second half hour is just behind the scenes to look at the episodes with the voice cast, subsequent reruns, and it even airs as a 30-minute regular episode with behind the scenes segment cut. The home release is also missing behind the scenes features and only features about 30 minutes of the version seen in indication. So that's pretty much what this episode is. So I personally like this episode. It's a really well made episode. I personally liked it. So it's well made in detail. I personally have to say it's a really good Christmas episode. And I definitely have to say it's definitely well made in detail. And I personally really enjoy this episode. It's fun. It's well made. I personally really enjoyed this episode, and I recommend you guys watch this episode too if you happen to be brand new here. So, with that being said and that being the case, let's go on with the number one favorite episode of mine. In the City. So this episode is one of my favorite episodes, all-time favorites actually, and this is the final episode and in the final season of the Magic School Bus, known as In the City. It came out in 1997. So basically, this happens on the first class normal field trip to the zoo, and that's when they wonder how they could live in the city. Miss Frizzle turns them into various animals. Like, for example, he turns Tim, Arnold, and Phoebe into foxes, Ralphie, Wanda, and Keisha into possums. Dorothy Ann and Carlos are turned into falcons, and herself was turned into a raccoon. But however, the bus mistaken itself for a bear, and with Liz inside, leaves them. Worse, the city authorities are after it, since Carlos rescues an orphaned sheep, thinking that the lost animal needed to return home. So basically, that's basically what the plot of the episode is. I personally liked In the City because I thought, it was really cool to see all the class into, furry animals, which I thought it was really cool. Cool, to be fair. And I mean, some of them kind of look like almost like Zootopia. And every time I look at this episode, it's like, oh, it's Zootopia, but Magic School Bus version of Zootopia, which I thought that was pretty neat and well made. I really like how the characters were animals, which is pretty neat. Do I recommend this episode? Well, if you're a Zootopia, if you're a furry, or if you like anthropomorphic animals or whatever, this episode is definitely for you. You definitely would enjoy this. So I guess with that being the case and with that being said, I personally really like these episodes of Magic School Bus, and if you have any episodes that are your favorite, you guys can let me know in the comments below, because I personally would like to hear what you guys think. If you like them, if you're not, if you disagree with me on any of these episodes, that's fine too, because I respect your opinion regardless. So, I guess with that being the case and with that being said, I'm just going to sit here and say right now that if you happen to be understanding, something that I don't, or if I'm missing something, let me know in the comments below. Feel free to do so. So anyways, I'm the Lion Queen. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you're new to my channel, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And, oh, pardon me about that. I just kind of had a little bit of a burp going on, but as always, if you want to go follow me on Twitter, link to my Twitter account will be in the About page section, so you guys can go check that out. Also, if you want to check out my DeviantArt page, link to my DeviantArt will be in the About page section, so you guys can go check that out. Also, if you are interested in subscribing to my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, link to that will also be in the About page section. And as always, I will be seeing you guys all in the next video. Peace out, and like always, roll the outro because I'm out.